श्रीवत्सवंशकलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघवगुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यम् रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. In the previous lecture, we discussed a few things. First, we said, explaining the sutra, Shastra Yonitvat, all the acharyas under Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, everybody is in agreement that you need Shastra, in this case, the Vedic scripture, to learn about the Supreme Being, about Brahman. Without it, you cannot know about Brahman. Okay, but how do we know about the Shastras? We know about the Shastras because of Brahman. When we are talking about this Vishishtadvaita school of philosophy, or even Advaita or Dvaita, we have said many times that these are not modern schools. They are ancient schools based on ancient scriptures. The Vedas are the most ancient scriptures that we have. So the ancient wisdom imparted by the Vedas is presented in the form of Vedanta. So through the school of ancient wisdom, whether you are studying Viveka Chudamani in Advaita or whether you are learning about Vishishtadvaita here, it is at the end of the day coming from the Veda. Veda is only telling about all of these things. Okay, but what is the source of the Veda? We say that for the Veda, the source is none other than Brahman. After every creation, the Veda was revealed. The Veda teaches us what is called as Sanatana Dharma, something that is going to sustain us eternally, something that is going to be eternally righteous. That is Sanatana Dharma. It was good in those days. It is good today. It will be good tomorrow as well. For example, the Veda would say, Satyam Vada, speak the truth. You should speak the truth today. This was valid in the past. This will be valid in future as well. That is only good. So whatever is good, whatever would sustain us, whatever would sustain the entire universe, and whatever would be eternally valid, eternally useful for the entire universe, that is what is called as Sanatana Dharma. And at the core of Sanatana Dharma is the Veda. At the core of Veda is Brahman. We also said that Shastra is not really the source of Brahman. Brahman exists by itself. We know about Brahman to some extent through the Shastra, where our own sense organs are not able to give us information. We refer to books, internet, chat GPT, and so on. In the same way, we should refer to the Shastra. Shastra is much more authoritative than the other books and internet and so on. We need faith in the Shastra. We cannot treat it as any random output. ChatGPT might sometimes give nonsensical answers. If the prompt is not good enough, the output would be wrong. Even if you have put the right input, sometimes it would assume things. We call it hallucination. So ChatGPT sometimes gives the wrong answer, but the Shastra will not give. Shastra, by definition, cannot give wrong knowledge. Shasanat Shastra. So, Shastra gives the right knowledge about Brahman that you cannot get from elsewhere. Thus, we need faith in the Shastras. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam, Krishna himself has said. This was discussed. If you look at what we are discussing about Vishishtadvaita as explained by Bhagavad Ramanuja. Did Bhagavad Ramanuja come up with these concepts earlier? No. Whatever he is saying is based on what Bodhayana explained. Did Bodhayana explain it by himself? No. He explained it based on whatever Vedavyasa compiled. But Vedavyasa was only the compiler of the Vedas. He was also not the creator of the Vedas. So this knowledge has been existing since forever, since long before the days of Vedavyasa. It is the most ancient knowledge. But when people try to understand what is there in the world, what is the purpose of life, and so on, a lot of people came up with a lot of theories. At the end of the day, for those who have faith in the Veda, we said that Veda talks about a concept called Brahman. Therefore, there is a person who gets curious to learn about the Brahman. For this curious person, the initial points that we saw are necessary. First, you need that curiosity, the desire to learn about that Brahman who is described as the creator, preserver, destroyer, and so on. This Brahman can be known only through the Shastras. We saw this much, right? Now, we are moving to the next part. The real intent of the Vedas. If we think about the real intent, what could be the real intent of the Vedas? There are a number of things that the Vedas could do. If they want, they could talk about a lot of things, but they aren't doing that. They talk only about specific things. And as I said, the central topic is Brahman. How do you know that the central topic is Brahman? In Purva Bhaga, where it says, do this ritual, do that ritual, and so on, we don't see that kind of a description about Brahman. It may be argued in this way. However, even in those parts where the rituals are described, Brahman is actually mentioned and discussed here and there. How it is mentioned, how it is discussed, these are points that the Vedantic, the great ancient acharyas have explained. For example, even for the Mimamsa Sutras, it is possible to interpret them completely from the perspective of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. This is what Swami Deshika was doing. Seshvara Mimamsa, there is a work. There, he started explaining how Purva Mimamsa is also talking about the same Parabrahman only. The real intent of Vedas, as per the Vishishtadvaita school of philosophy, is to teach us about Brahman. The Artha Panchakam that we discussed before, the 5 important things that need to be known, right? Impart that knowledge to us is the intent of the Vedas. Okay, the Vedas would teach us, but what are we going to gain from learning the Vedas? It is only knowledge. We are going to learn about Brahman. Are we going to experience Brahman just by learning? No, not really. I remember watching a video of the Sringeri Shankaracharya, the older one, Bharati Tirtha Swami. So, His Holiness Bharati Tirtha Swami, in one lecture, he had said that it is impossible to purely realize Brahman simply by learning. Any kind of realization can happen only through experience. This experience matters a lot. We say the same thing in Vishishtadvaita. Brahman has to be experienced. How do you experience? In lots and lots of ways. The Veda says, Atmavare drashtavyaha, shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha. It has to be seen, it has to be listened about, it has to be thought about, it has to be contemplated upon. It is from this that Shankara Bhagavad Pada developed Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, those steps. It is based on this Vedic statement. The same Veda also says, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha, na medhaya na bahuna ashrutayana. Just by Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, you cannot attain this Paramatma. So I have listened to the Vedas. I have thought about the meaning of the Vedas. I have done deep meditation contemplating on the meaning imparted, the ultimate meaning imparted by the Vedas. That is not enough. The Veda says, Yamai Vesha Vrunate, Esha Paramatma. This Supreme Being, Esha Bhagavan, Esha Narayana Shriman, the one who is blessed by that Bhagavan alone can attain Bhagavan. The one who is blessed by Paramatma is the one who can truly attain Paramatma. It is said so in the Veda. So, those who experience Paramatma are those who are permitted by Paramatma to experience it. Okay, how do we know who Paramatma will permit and who it will prevent? The answer is very simple. The Paramatma permits everybody who follows the Shastras. So the same Shastras that teach that this is Brahman, this is Paramatma, the same Shastras will also teach us how to attain. Just by following the procedure, we cannot attain. But as we follow the procedure, this Paramatma will be pleased with us and will grant us moksha. This is important. So the real intent of the Veda is conveyed in the Vedanta section, that is the Upanishad section. And in the Upanishad, what is said? What is said in the Upanishad? We call Bhagavan as Vedanta Vedya, one who is known through the Vedanta. Vedanta teaches only about him. There is a beautiful shloka. Yo vedadau phalam prokto vedante cha pratisthitah. The Vedas and the Vedic scriptures, they teach us the ultimate benefit. What is the ultimate benefit? That ultimate benefit is only Brahman, the Supreme Being. He is talked about. Attaining him is the goal. So, Vedante cha pratisthitah. It is known through the Vedanta, well established through the Vedanta. Okay, all of that is fine. But there is one question. In the world, we see that potter is different, clay is different, the wheel used to make the pot is different, and the pot itself is different. The clay pot is different from the potter. Potter is the maker. How could the Vedas say that Bhagavan is both the potter and the clay? There is a question. This question is addressed. The Paramatma is not a being who could be understood by our own sense organs. We have limitations to our senses. And therefore, the only proper way to know about him is through the Vedas. We have said so. Vedas declare him to be unique. Vedas declare him to be the potter and the clay. How? He is the creator. He is also the raw material for creation. How could this be possible? How could the Paramatma be both the creator and the material cause of creation? This is a question. We try to address this question in the 5th sutra of the Brahma Sutra. The first 4 were for the beginner, right? To the person who wants to enter Vedanta. So the first 4 sutras discussed about just Brahman. Now we are going to enter into Vedanta Shastra, the actual Vedanta Shastra. So there is a question. Is the universe made up of Brahman? You are saying he is clay. He is the potter and he is also the clay. That is what you are saying. Would it be true? Logically, it doesn't seem so fair. The potter is not the clay. But you are saying, no, refer the Vedas. Okay, I referred the Vedas. The Vedas also don't seem to say that he is both the potter, that is the creator, and also the clay, that is the raw material for creation. Did Bhagavan himself become the universe? I don't think the Vedas say so. This is how some people raised a doubt. So let us look at what really happened. In Taittiriya, there is a statement, Yato va imani bhutani jayanti. Here, from where all of these beings get created, in that way, it is discussed. The source of creation. And in Chandogya, the famous interaction between sage Uddalaka and his son Shvetaketu, we see there Sadeva Somyatam Agra Asi Dekamevad Vitiyam. So in Chandogya, we see this. Why are we discussing this? There is something here. The word imani and the word idam. Imani, it means these, referring to everything that got created. The source of that creation is being discussed. That source is described by the word idam in Chandogya. Idam means this, but in neuter gender. Not this man, not this woman, but this thing, meaning this non-living entity. It is in neuter gender. So, what is the meaning of the statement? The statement says only Sat, Sat eva, idam, agre, asit. Sat eva, only Sat. Idam Sat eva, agre, asit. This Sat alone existed back then. When? Before creation. This is the statement. After that, of course, Ekameva Advitiyam. We know that statement, right? We would have seen it before. Ekameva Advitiyam. How would Advaita explain it? It would say only one entity exists. That is Brahman. There is no second entity. How would Vishishtadvaita explain it? Ekam eva. There is only one source of all creation, and that source is unique. Advitiyam. There is no other being like that entity. There is only one Paramatma. No Atma or Jada is like Paramatma. All the other Atma are jivatmas. There is one Paramatma. Every other Atma is different from it. This is the statement. This is the way Vishishtadvaita has explained. Ekameva Adviti. Okay, but saying only one is there. How is that one explained? Is it explained as Ekaha? Ekaha means one male. Is it explained as Eka? Eka means one female. But it has been explained as Ekam, meaning this in neuter gender. Idam, this in neuter gender. This is very important for us to understand. So, like how the scientists sometimes, when they use science, they try to find out the cause of the universe. And all of the times, through the scientific method, they fail to see Paramatma, because their techniques rely only on Pratyaksha and Anumana. So what happens is, sometimes some people come and say the whole universe did not have a creator. Just like how non-living things can also cause creation. In ancient days, there was a famous example. Milk becoming curd. Milk is non-living. Milk is becoming curd. Curd is also non-living. Milk is transforming into curd by itself. You put milk, you keep it there, it will become curd. People used to say that way. In modern days, they say inorganic matter can eventually become organic matter. First, there was hydrogen. Then there was fusion. Eventually, carbon was created. Carbon compounds are called organic, right? You have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. It's organic. Now, we should understand that some people, even in the ancient days, argued this way. They said, how is it possible for creation to happen through a living entity? Logically, it doesn't make sense to say that he is that whatever the universe is made of is also a living being. And secondly, when we look at the Vedas are also saying this. So let us call this as something else. Let us call it nature. Let's call it nature. We lose nothing, right? Why should we call it him? Let us call it this, it, and so on. Nature need not have any life. Nature is there by itself. Science does not say that nature is a living being. So, some people argued that way. At the forefront of these people were the Nirishwara Sankhyas. The Sankhya philosophy we have seen before. There are two types of followers of Sankhya. One accepts a supreme being, the other does not. So here we are referring to the atheist Sankhya philosophy. So the atheist Sankhyans, they said, we are not willing to believe that you have an almighty. They sound very scientific, right? So they said the word idam, it simply refers to the early form of nature. Remember the word mula prakriti, the equivalent of that. This prakriti, they called it as pradhana, a technical term used by them. Nothing for us to worry. Pradhana means prakriti. Prakriti means nature. So they said that from pradhana, creation happened. The universe was formed. This is the reality. Then they said the proof for it is given in the Veda itself. The word idam, we said, it means this. This is a non-living term, right? It is not a term for living things. Idam as this is used only for non-living things. There is one more way. Look at the examples. Look at the example given by Uddalaka. Yatha Saumya Ekena Mrutpindena. From clay. Clay is given as the example, right? Clay is the material cause of the pot. From clay, you can have a round pot, you can have a long pot, you can have a clay tumbler, you could have lots and lots of different types of vessels made out of clay. You could even have clay statues. In my childhood, I used to learn clay modeling. It was a lot of fun. We would make humans with clay and other things. So many things can be made. So all of them are essentially made of clay. In the same way, the whole universe is made up of Brahman. This is the teaching in the Upanishad. Look at the example. The example given by the sage is clay. Clay is non-living. Why is he giving a non-living entity as an example? Because the whole universe also came only from a non-living being. Some non-living entity transformed into the universe, just like how non-living clay transformed into pottery. This was the argument of the Nirishwara Sankhya followers, the atheist school. Now what to do? Vedanta has to reject it. Vedanta has to reject it because Vyasa rejects it. So Vyasa has to say that it is not so. How does he say? Look at what is said. Tadaikshata bahusyam praja yeti tat tejo srujata. Although the word tat is used for Brahman, tat means that, it is neuter. The word idam is used, tat is used, and so on. It is not an implication of being a non-living entity, non-conscious entity. Brahman could very well be a conscious entity who cannot be classified as male or female. Try to understand this. Vishishtadvaita says Brahman is a conscious entity who cannot really be defined as male or female, because distinctions like male and female exist for the body, not for Atma. Okay, so what? Look at the Veda. Tadaikshata. It saw. The word used says it saw. How could it see? What is the meaning of seeing? When only Brahman, when only and only Brahman was there, it saw, and it saw that it will become many. What does that mean? The word saw is to be taken metaphorically, because there is nothing to see before creation. But it became many. Therefore, the word saw becomes a metaphor. It refers to deciding. I will see that you get promoted by April. If I tell somebody, I will see that you get demoted by April, I'm angry at you. I will see that in this cycle you will get demoted. I will see. What does that I will see mean? I will see means I will ensure. So, the word see or even the word saw, these words could metaphorically refer to decision making. In that way, the Veda has said, it has used the word for seeing. Non-living things cannot see. Therefore, Brahman is conscious. But what is it seeing? If somebody asks, we would answer it by saying that it is a metaphor referring to the decision that it took. It is called sankalpa in Sanskrit. It took the decision. Brahman, which is a conscious being, consciously took the decision to become many. Where there was one, let there now be many. This was a decision taken by Brahman. And therefore, the universe got created. Look at the word, tat tejo srijata, tat tejo srijata, asrijata, created. A non-living entity cannot create. It can only transform. Can it create something? It cannot. For you to do something by yourself, anything, right? Move by yourself. Non-living things cannot move by themselves also. They need an external force to come and hit them. Then only they will start doing anything that they are doing. Every non-living thing that is moving, the earth is moving, right? Rotating, revolving. All the planets are doing. Stars are also doing. Even galaxies are moving, they say. All of that happens because some force started acting on them. Some force or the other. This is explained by using Newton's laws. So, we are looking at a very, very logical and scientific approach towards something that cannot be described by science. But we use science to the maximal extent possible. We use science as much as we can. So we know that non-living things cannot create, cannot decide, cannot see. But the word is given that it decided. It is given that it created. Therefore, it is referring to a conscious entity. Therefore, Brahman has consciousness. We should not think that Brahman in this context is just the Pradhana. Pradhana refers to Prakriti, the non-living nature, inert nature, as explained by the Sankhya philosophy. So, as we look at the fifth sutra, due to the word saw, it is said, right? Tadaikshata. Ikshitehe is the first word of the sutra. Due to the word saw, then the next word is na, and the third word is ashabda. In essence, the sutra means due to the existence of the word saw, where the word saw means decided. We cannot accept the argument given by the Sankhyans. Okay, but what is the argument given by the Sankhyans? The Sankhyans are saying, firstly, that the universe came from an unconscious entity called Pradhana. What they call it doesn't matter to us, but they say it came from an unconscious entity. Secondly, they are saying that we know it came from an unconscious entity because of logical reasoning. Thirdly, they are saying whatever we have logically concluded is what is already said in the Veda. Because of this, their claim is that what the Veda has said is not enough. We have added, based on what we see in the universe, that water is different from clay. Whatever we see in the universe, that logic we applied to the Veda. And by applying that logic to the Veda, we understood that the universe came from an unconscious, consciousness-less being. In this way, they said, we are rejecting that. It decided that it would become many. That is the statement. Likewise, there are more statements in the Vedas. Elsewhere in the Veda, instead of the word it, the word given is he. Saha, the word is given with visarga lopa. So, when the same statement is repeated in some other context in the Veda, when discussing about something else, when the creation of universe is brought up as a topic, the Veda does not continue to use the neuter word it. However, it uses the word he. But everywhere it says that Brahman decided. So, these statements where it says he decided, those statements are totally missed by those who say that the universe came from an unconscious being as per the Veda. So the Veda says, he decided, I will create the worlds. Then he created the worlds. He decided, and therefore he created the Indriyas. That is how it is explained. We say the Indriyas, the word used there is prana, but we understand that prana and so on are all to be considered as one group. At the end of the day, he created everything. And everywhere it is said that he decided or it decided. Hence, ikshitehe. Since it is said that a decision was made, we have to understand what the Veda is trying to convey. Multiple statements of the Vedas speaking about the topic, you take all of them together. You accept that all of the statements of the Veda are correct. If all of them are correct, then he and it should refer to the same person. He and it should refer to the same person. He became many. He created the worlds. He created the senses. That is the way it has been said in the Veda. And therefore, we are not looking at an unconscious entity. So the argument, no, look at logical reasoning. Pot can never be made, a potter can never become pot. Only clay can become pot. Clay is non-living. Therefore, the universe, which is non-living, also came from a non-living entity. That logical argument does not hold here. In the case of the creation of the universe, only and only the Veda is the authority. If you are a believer of the Veda. And Veda is a superior authority. When Veda disagrees with what you normally see, you accept what the Veda says. I might see water in front of me. Veda will tell me you are standing in the desert. How is it the desert? I am seeing crystal clear water. It is reflecting so much light. I can see my own face. The Veda will say, no, it is a desert. I will disagree with the Veda. I will try to drink the water. Then I will realize that what I am taking is sand. Or like how I have seen in states like Tamil Nadu. If you go from Chennai to Trichy by road or Trichy to Chennai by road in the middle of the day, you can see mirage on the road, on the tar road. So my senses could fool me, but the Veda will never fool me. This is the teaching. So if you accept the Veda, you have to compulsorily accept that Brahman exists only on the basis of the Vedas. Why? Because the way Brahman is described by the Vedas is as a conscious being. A conscious being. That is not how you explained, right? When you look at the non-living things in the universe, I don't say that the cause of the pot is a living being. Potter cannot become pot. Clay can only become pot, and clay is non-living. Non-living comes from non-living. Unconscious comes from unconscious. Conscious comes from conscious. Unconscious can also come from conscious. But at the end of the day, we are saying that if there is any kind of transformation that created the universe, the transformation was the transformation of Brahman himself due to his own decision. Here a big question will be raised. Did Parabrahman get transformed? Are you saying Brahma Parinamavada? Can Brahman change? Because it says he is unchanging elsewhere in the Veda. Well, in which way is he unchanging and which way is he changing has to be understood by us. We will discuss that at a later point of time. But so much has been seen. So now we say it is the conscious being who has created and who has also transformed himself into the universe. At this point, the Sankhyains ask, why are you interpreting in an illogical way? The Nirishwara Sankhyains, right? Those who reject Brahman, they are asked. They ask, why are you rejecting what is logical? When there is a logical way to interpret the Veda, why are you ignoring it? So we ask back, how are we ignoring logic? Then they say, the cause needs to be understood based on the effect. The cause needs to be understood based on the effect. If I have a pot with me, based on the properties of the pot, I can decide and find out about the material that makes up the pot. In the same way, when we look at the universe, we take it as a result of a non-living entity. The effect is non-living, the universe is non-living, and therefore the cause is also non-living. The cause also does not have any consciousness. This is only logical. In this way, the Sankhyains said. We responded by saying, that is not so. What we are saying, that Brahman is a conscious entity that is also supported by logic. We are indeed accepting the cause based on the effect only. You are saying pot can only be made of clay, clay is non-living. But think about it. There is a relationship which you are missing. Firstly, the Upanishads have said that Brahman is all-knowing. He is all-powerful. He is Satya Sankalpa. So he is Sarvajna. He knows everything. So he has the knowledge to create as well. He has the knowledge to transform himself. He is all-powerful. He has the ability to transform himself. And he is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he wishes automatically becomes true. He is one whose wishes are always true and remain consistent throughout. That being is Purushottama, the foremost of the Purushas. That Purushottama is Parabrahman. Remember, at the first sutra we said, Parabrahman refers to Purushottama. Who is Purushottama? Purushottama is Sriman Narayana. This is how Vishishtadvaita was explained by Bhagavad Ramanuja. And then one example. Take just one example. There are many, many examples that you can take. One example from Subalopanishad would tell you that everything is his Sharira. There are many more examples, right? We have already seen Brihadaranyaka and so on. So, everything is his Sharira. Everything, all the non-living things as well, are his Sharira only. In that way, the Upanishad has declared. Therefore, we should understand Parabrahman to be Chidachit Vastu Sharirakaha, one who has all the jivatma, all the jivatmas, and all the non-living beings also as his Sharira, because the Upanishad has said so. Now you are saying non-living thing only transformed, clay only transformed into mud. Okay, but that non-living thing is a Sharira, no? He is transforming his Sharira. Sukshma Chidachid Vastu Shariraka. In the beginning, before creation, how was he? In the beginning, where you say nothing existed other than him, he alone was there. Sadeva Asit was the statement, right? He is represented by the word Sat. He alone was there. What does it mean to say he alone was there? It means that all the Jivatman and all that you see as Prakriti, if all the non-living thing, all the animate and inanimate matter were existing at something like a singularity, something like a state where you are not occupying space, you are sukshma, you are infinitesimally small. So they were infinitesimally small before, and they were his Sharira. He decided to expand, and therefore that expanded and became the universe. This expansion is what science is today calling as the Big Bang. So the scientific view that everything was occupying an infinitesimally small space, and that from there was a kind of an explosion of space from which the universe was created. That is explained by Bhagavad Ramanuja in the Sri Bhashya. And then finally, the Veda alone is sufficient to understand about Brahman. Remember, we can understand but not realize. The Veda will also describe only to some extent. But this extent would be much more than what we can perceive. This is also mentioned in the Upanishad. Yena ashrutam shrutam. Whatever you have not heard or you cannot hear about would also be heard about. How does that mean? Sorry, what does that mean? By which? Yena. By learning from the Vedas about Parabrahman, who is Sarva Karana Karana, the cause of all causes. From that, you would learn that what is otherwise said outside, whatever is perceived outside, that will all get cleared up. So, the argument that although the Veda has said about Brahman, by using logic, we can see that this Brahman is not a conscious entity. If such a person is saying so, if such a person says that the entity from which the universe was created by transformation, that which transformed into the universe, if people are going to say that it is an unconscious entity, it means they are rejecting the Vedas. Modern scientists reject the Vedas. Therefore, they say it came from an unconscious entity. But if you accept the Vedas say that this was a conscious entity. This is very, very important. Why is this important in the context of Vishishtadvaita? We will see in the next class. For now, if any of you has any question, please feel free to ask. This is how Vedanta is actually explained. The Vedanta Sutras will have like lots of analysis. Inside the explanation of the sutras, they will take up statements of the Veda, they will take up one word. On that one word, they will debate. They will say, this is the meaning. If this is the meaning here, then what is the meaning there? This has to be understood through that. There is a consistency across the Vedas. So many such things will be there. It gets very complex. You don't want to go to the maximal level of complexity, nor are we interested in directly discussing the Vedas. Our aim is to understand the teachings of Vishishtadvaita. For that, whatever is necessary, we are taking. That's all. So if there is any question, please feel free to ask. If there's no question, we will end today's lecture here. Okay. No question is coming up. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you.